Hello everybody, my name is Jay. I'm one of the expert IELTS teachers here at E2 Language. What we're going to do in this live class is an IELTS mini mock test. This is for general and academic. What we're going to do more specifically is I'm going to take you through a listening test, a reading test. In part 3 for speaking, I've got a very special guest coming in, Alex, who is an ex-IELTS examiner. She's going to take you through a full speaking test just like it would be in the real exam. So that's going to be really good. So stick around for part 3. And then in part 4, we're going to do writing task 2 together. Okay, I'm going to take you through a really good essay structure and you're going to have the chance to actually write a full essay. Just before we begin, if you're not yet a subscriber, do click that subscribe button down there. We've just reached 200,000 subscribers, which is totally awesome. We do want to get to 1 million if possible. So also what you might want to do is share this with your friend. Feel free to click like. And as we go through and do the scoring, I'd like to see your scores in the comments below for the listening and the reading test, for example. So that would be cool. All right, let's start with listening. What I firstly want you to do is quickly just write down on a piece of paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're just going to do 10 questions, okay? The first one we're going to do is this. It's going to be multiple choice. So what you're going to do is you're going to listen to this short little lecture. You're just going to select A, B, or C for questions 1, 2, and 3, starting now.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Martha Kerr, and I am the CEO of the Roads and Infrastructure Committee. I've called this meeting because I want to let you, the members of the public, know about the new regulations for traffic and parking that we're thinking about for Lavers Hill. I'll firstly summarize these proposed changes, and then we'll go to Q&A. So, it's quite clear that we need to make these changes to the traffic in Lavers Hill. It's certainly becoming an increasing problem in our lovely town. It's also become very apparent since they started building the new gymnasium. But it's the overall rise in traffic of all sorts that's a real concern to us. To date, there's not been any increases in traffic accidents. So that's good, and that's something we don't want to see escalate. We recently surveyed a lot of you local residents, and your responses were quite interesting. A lot of you were worried about the lack of visibility in some of the roads as a result of parked cars along the streets. We actually expected issues of congestion around the school, but this wasn't top of the list of your concerns. Nor was noise or fumes from trucks much of an issue either. We hope these changes we plan to make will have a positive impact, but we've got a lot of work to do. The good news is that our proposals are within budget, so the council can cover them, which is good. But it's one thing to introduce new regulations, and quite another to make sure people obey them. So that's an area that we're working on with the local police force.
Cool. How did you go for questions 1, 2, and 3? Hopefully that was pretty straightforward. It's going to get a little bit trickier now. We're going to focus on a map completion exercise, which personally I find pretty challenging in the IELTS. So let's have a look at this one here. Let me just talk you through what you need to do here. Okay, so let me move that. Okay, on the left-hand side, you're going to see numbers: 4, new traffic lights; 5, pedestrian crossing; 6, parking allowed; 7, new no parking sign. As the speaker speaks, she's going to be moving through each of these. So she'll start talking about new traffic lights, for example. What you need to do is to decide where these new traffic lights are. Is it here next to the bank? Are the new traffic lights near the chemist, or are they across the road from the school, for example? Then she'll mention something about a new pedestrian crossing. Is that here on Caroline Street, or is that just out the front of the library? So you need to listen very carefully and keep in mind that it's sequential. She's going to be moving through the questions like this. And again, on your piece of paper, you're going to be writing down A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, or I. Okay, the talk starts now.
Okay, so this image is a map of the center of Lavers Hill, with Avoca Street in the middle and the school road on the right. Now, we already have a set of traffic lights at the junction of Avoca Street and Caroline Street, but we're planning to erect another set at the other end, at the school road junction, to regulate traffic flow along Avoca Street. We've decided we definitely need a pedestrian crossing. We initially thought to put this on School Road, just outside the school, but then we realized that it would lead to more traffic congestion. So we decided to put it on Avoca Street, crossing the road in front of the chemist. That's a pretty busy area, so it should help quite a bit. We're also proposing some changes to parking. At present, you're not allowed to park on Avoca Street outside the library, but we're going to change that and allow parking there, but not at the other end of Avoca Street near School Road. It's worth noting that there'll be a new no parking sign on School Road, just by the entrance to the school, forbidding parking for 25 meters. This should improve visibility for drivers and pedestrians, especially just to the north of the school. As for disabled drivers, currently they can park outside the pub, but trucks also use these spaces. So we've got a couple of new disabled parking spaces on the side road up toward the bank. It's not a perfect solution, but it would certainly do for the time being. We also plan to widen the pavement on School Road. We think we can get an extra meter or two just before you get to the school on the same side of the road. Lastly, we've introduced some new restrictions on loading and unloading at the pub, so trucks will be only allowed to stop there before 6 a.m. That's the pub on School Road. We kept to the existing arrangements on Avoca Street. So that's about it.
That can be pretty tough, those map completion exercises, labeling the map, especially in the computer-based IELTS. I'm not sure if you've taken that one yet or if you plan to take that. I do think it's a better test than the paper-based IELTS, but I did find the listening section was pretty challenging in that one because you're looking at a screen. I felt like it was a little bit more challenging. Anyway, let's have a look at the answers for the listening section here. So the answers are, number 1, you should have got B, 2, C, 3, B, 4, E, 5, D, 6, B, 7, G, 8, C, and 9, H, and 10, I. You can pause the video here and just double check. How did you go out of 10? Do put your score into the comments below. Just say listening 6 out of 10 or listening 10 out of 10. I'll be interested to know how you went with that section. All right, guys, now that we've done listening, let's move on and do some IELTS reading. This will apply to both general and academic, and I'm going to show you 5 different question types, including some tricky ones like true, false, not given, and match headings. But what I want you to do first is create another answer sheet from 1 to 20. And next to each of these numbers, you'll write a letter like B, C, or D, or maybe you'll write a single word, or maybe 2 words, or maybe you'll write a number. It depends on the question, okay? We're going to start with a simple multiple choice question. This is usually what happens in the exam. What I want you to do for questions 1 to 3 is just to decide whether the answer is A, B, C, or D. And so you'll write next to the number 1, B, for example. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer these 3 questions. Okay, how did you go with those multiple choice questions? They're pretty straightforward. Now we're going to do some match headings. And these ones I find a little bit challenging. What I need you to do is, these are questions 4 to 9. So on your answer sheet, you're going to write these funny little Roman numerals, okay? One of these. What you need to do is this. First of all, I want you to read the paragraph, okay? Read this. Then decide which one of these would make the best heading for that paragraph, right? Then let's say, for example, you decide it's foraging habits. Then for number 4, you would write IX on your answer sheet, okay? Now, here are 3 paragraphs, so you're going to find 3 headings, and then I'll show you 3 more. You have 2 minutes to find these 3. Okay, you've just done the first 3 paragraphs. We're going to do 3 more. Same thing applies. You have 2 minutes. Okie dokie. So we've just done matching headings. That was a pretty tough one. I wonder how you went. Now we're going to do some of your favorite ones, maybe not. True, false, not given. Let me just explain what you need to do here. Okay, so you have a statement, right? Roadrunners mate for life. What you need to decide according to the text, remember it does go in order, so this one will be up here, this one will probably be here, for example, like this. So it does follow a sequence. What you need to decide is whether this statement is true, whether it says the same thing as the text, whether it's false, whether it contradicts what is said in the text, or whether it's not given, whether there's just no information about this statement in the text. Okay? And on your answer sheet next to number 10, for example, you will write true, false, or not given. Okay. Sounds easy. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. See how you go. Okay, nice work. True, false, not given, and yes, no, not given on test day can be pretty tricky, trust me. Yeah, it's the same in the computer-based IELTS as well. Pretty challenging stuff. Okay, we've got 7 questions left on our reading test, our mini mock test. This time we're doing questions 14 to 17, and the text has now changed. We're no longer reading about roadrunners, we're reading about something else. Okay. What you're going to do in this part of the test with these questions is simply answer in 1, 2, or 3 words. Okay? Now the words that you answer in will be taken directly from the text. So you're not making this up. You're copying words directly from the text. Okay? You have 2 minutes to answer these 4 questions. Okay, some of those questions were pretty straightforward and some were pretty tricky. All right, but that question type of short answer is pretty straightforward. Just remember that you're taking words directly from the text. You don't have to change them. You don't have to make singular nouns plural, for example. It's, yes, copy and paste sort of job. Okay, the last three questions are what's called matching information. Let me explain this one to you because it's also pretty tricky. All right, first of all, look down here at the list of people. We've got all these people's names: Peter, Luca, Milton, Marcel, John, Laszlo, and a different John. Okay, in the text, it mentions all of these people: Milton, Peter, John, Marcel, for example, right? So they're all mentioned. Now, if you look up here at number 18, it says, using knowledge from his profession, he made a thicker ink. So what you need to do is to decide which of these guys here, Peter, Luca, Milton, for example, actually did this. So as you read, you're going to find out the answer to that. And you'll go, it was Marcel, for example. But on your answer sheet, you're not going to write Marcel, you're going to write the letter D, okay? That's what you're going to do. Just remember that also these questions also follow the same sequence as the text. So number 18 will actually, no, it won't. No, it won't. Forget what I just said then. That won't follow the same sequence of the text. Anyway, see how you go. It's good to practice here, not on test day. Okie dokie, that's a real trick, that one, but hopefully you got questions 18, 19, and 20, and hopefully on your answer sheet you wrote A, B, C, D, E, F, or G for each of those people. Cool bananas. Let's go through the answers now. All right. I'm actually, after we look at this answer sheet, I'm going to take you through the answers in detail. But on your answer sheet, you should have written number 1, D, number 2, D, number 3, B. They were the multiple choice questions. Then you had the match headings questions. So number 4 was, well, it's 7, 5, 9, 10, 6, and 3. But you must write the Roman numerals on your answer sheet. Don't ask me why. Number 10 was true. Number 11, false. Number 12, not given. Number 13, true. Number 14 was 2 words, dip pens, and you must have the S on the end. Remember, this is copied directly from the text. If you do not have an S on the end, it would be considered incorrect. Number 15 was artwork genre or an artwork genre. 3 words or 2 words would be fine. 16, rough surfaces, plural. 17, letter writing with a dash or letter writing 2 words is fine. 18, B, 19, G, and 20, E. All right, let me show you why the answers are the way they are. So, what's a distinguishing feature of the Roadrunner? You may have got stuck here looking at their tails and their crests, but if you looked a bit more closely, it says they have a distinctive head crest. Distinguishing feature, something distinctive. The answer here is D, their head crest. Number 2, the Roadrunner's tail feathers have what markings? Blue and red shades, white crescents, white streaks, or white tips? Well, in this paragraph here, you're going to see something about the tail is broad with white tips. Okay. There was something down here about a white crescent, but that was on their wings. So that was wrong. That was a distractor. Number 3, what is unusual about the Roadrunner's feet? They have excellent grip, they leave symmetrical impressions, they allow the bird to walk backwards, they help to protect against predators. All of these are plausible, only one is correct, and here it is here. The Roadrunner leaves behind very distinct X-track marks appearing as if they are traveling in both directions. This means that the answer is B. They leave symmetrical impressions. That was a pretty tricky one, number 3. All right, then we had the match headings section here. So what we do is we read the paragraph and it says something about a coo, vocalized clattering. So this one is related to number 7 here, their song. That would be the best heading for A. So if you wrote 7 or VII on your answer sheet, that would be correct. Next we read B, and it says something about inhabit, deserts, shrubland, non-migratory, habitat limited. We look through the headings here. We see V here, habitat. That is the correct answer. C, the Roadrunner is an opportunistic omnivore. Its diet, blah, 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 blah. If we look down through the headings here, the best one is number 9, foraging habits. This would make the best heading for that paragraph. Okay, then we look at D. The Roadrunner usually lives alone or in pairs. Roadrunners are monogamous and mate for life. What's this talking about? This is talking about X, 10, behavior and breeding. Okay, great. I've forgotten what number we're up to. Maybe number 8. During the cold desert night, the Roadrunner lowers its body temperature. Okay, so what's body temperature? We look through here. Could be evolution. The answer is thermoregulation. That's a pretty tricky one. If you don't know that word, fair enough. F. Okay, this one's pretty straightforward. The Hopi and the Pueblo tribes. That one gives away. Number 3, Native American law is the best heading for paragraph F, which is number 9. So you should have written I on your answer sheet. Cool, that was match headings. Now we're up to true, false, not given. This is the one where we get into a fight because I think it's true, you think it's false, and she thinks it's not given, and it's like that. Anyway, let me talk you through this one. Okay, so let's read the statement. Roadrunners mate for life. Well, here it says the Roadrunner usually lives alone or in pairs. Roadrunners are monogamous. This is the critical part here. Okay, I can see there's probably, we're going to get into a fight here because it says usually lives alone or in pairs. But if they do mate, they mate for life. Roadrunners are monogamous. This and this say the same thing. this would be considered true because it agrees with that information there about monogamy. Mating for life is the synonym for monogamous. Number 10 is true, even though there was a little bit of a distractor with that first sentence. Number 11, on cold nights, the roadrunner increases its activity to stay warm. During the cold desert night, there's your clue to where you should be reading. The roadrunner lowers its body temperature slightly, becoming idle to conserve energy. The roadrunner increases its activity to stay warm. These two contradict each other. Number 11, you should have written false. Number 12, the Anasazi culture believes the X-shaped footprints ward off evil spirits. Okay, so we see here the keyword Anasazi, so we know we're reading somewhere around here. Now back here it said something about the protective power of the roadrunners. Okay, where did it say? Oh, here, ward off evil. Then it moves to a different topic. It's talking about the Anasazi culture. It doesn't say whether the Anasazi culture believe this or not. Because it doesn't say it explicitly, it also doesn't contradict it. This one is going to be not given, and on your answer sheet you will write not given next to number 12. Number 13, roadrunner meat is considered by some to be medicinal. So if we look down here into the final sentence, it says, in some Mexican tribes, the bird was considered sacred and never killed, but most Mexican Indians used the meat, there's the word that you can, okay, we're in the right place, of the roadrunner as a folk remedy to cure illness. Medicinal. This has to be true, considered by some to be medicinal. That you would write true on your answer sheet, and that's those. Okay, now we change texts and we move to the short answer questions. Number 14, ballpoint pens were originally developed as a substitute for what? Here it says it was conceived and developed as a cleaner and more reliable alternative, substitute, they're nice synonyms, to dip pens. Okay, so the answer there is dip pens. That's what they were made to substitute for. Number 15, what have ballpoint pens given rise to? Okay, given rise. This is the synonym that we need to look for. I don't know if you saw this. Spawned an artwork genre. So you could have artwork genre or an artwork genre. That is the answer to number 15. 16, what did Loud intend his pens to be able to write on? So we've scrolled down, we're looking, we see his name here. Okay, to make a writing instrument that would be able to write on rough surfaces, such as wood, coarse wrapping paper, and other articles. This is the main thing here. Rough surfaces is the answer to number 16. And number 17, Loud's pen was unable to be used for what purpose? Okay, it could be used to mark rough surfaces such as leather, as Loud intended. Okay, I've just realized that leather might also be an answer to number 16. If you wrote leather for number 16, I'm going to give you that as well, okay? Just because I didn't see that before. But anyway, 17, Loud's pen was unable to be used for what? Too coarse for letter writing. So that is the answer for number 17. As I said, if you wrote leather for 16, good on you. That is fair enough. Okay, 18 to 20, these ones. So using knowledge from his profession, he made a thicker ink. Who? Peter, Luca, Milton, Marcel, John, Laszlo, or John Loud? Well, if we look down here, we can see Biro enlisted the help of his brother, Luca Giorgi, a chemist, his profession, a chemist, Luca, who developed a viscous ink, viscous, thick, formulae for new ballpoint designs. So the answer for number 18 is, if we look down the list, where is he? B. 18b. Number 19, his invention was never used. Now, this one wasn't sequential because if we go to the top here, we see John Loud, who was attempting to make a writing instrument, blah, 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 blah. With no commercial viability, its potential went unexploited. Its potential went unexploited. His invention was never used. Okay? Those two say the same thing. So the answer there is G, which you would write on your answer sheet for 19. Number 20, he made a small fortune by innovating the pen. I think this was pretty easy because there was something written down here about Parker sold several million pens at prices between $3 and $9. Whoa, Parker made a small fortune. So here for number 20, you would write E. Okay? Cool. All right. That was 20 questions. Of course, in the real IELTS, you'll get 40 reading questions, and the difficulty varies between the questions. And there are 11 different reading question types. If you're not familiar with those, you may want to check out e2language.com. We take you through every single different question type there is in the IELTS for reading, give you lots of practice. We even run not for reading, we run live classes for reading each week as well, and daily classes for the IELTS other sections of the test, including writing, speaking, listening, and whatever the other one is. Cool. I think I need a break. So that's a good opportunity for you to now meet Alex, who will take you through IELTS Speaking. All right, guys, now we're up to the speaking section of the mini mock test, and I have a very special guest, Alex.
Hi.
Alex, what was your job?
I was an IELTS examiner.
And how long were you an IELTS examiner for?
I was an IELTS examiner for 8 years.
Holy moly. So guys, you're in very good hands. Alex is going to take you through this part of the test and play the role of the examiner, just like on test day. And I'll see you after this for writing task 2.
Hi everyone, my name's Alex, and today I'm going to take you through a full IELTS speaking test. There are 3 parts to the IELTS speaking test, but before part 1, the examiner will check your name, nationality, and your passport. Don't worry about this section, it's not assessed. In part 1, the examiner will ask you 10 to 12 questions about 3 topics, and they're all personal questions. You should try to answer in about 10 to 20 seconds. Are you ready? Let's start. Speaking part 1. Let's talk about where you live. Do you live in a house or an apartment? What's your favourite part of your home? Will you stay there for a long time? Let's talk about sport now. How interested are you in sport? Did you play sport in school? Do most people play sport in your country? Do you think all school children should play a sport? Let's talk about travel. Do you like travel? When did you last travel somewhere? Where would you like to travel? In speaking part 2, the examiner will give you a booklet with a topic, a piece of paper and a pen, and you will have 1 minute to prepare and take notes if you wish. Then you'll talk for 2 minutes about your topic. Are you ready? Let's go. Are you ready? Can you start speaking now, please? You've been talking about a shop that you like, and in part 3, the examiner will ask you some more general questions about this topic. These questions are more abstract than part 1, so you shouldn't talk about yourself too much. Are you ready? Let's begin. Speaking part 3. Let's talk about advertising. What are some ways that companies encourage us to buy? Should advertising be restricted? Who is responsible for regulating advertisers and companies? Should advertisements that target children be banned? That's the end of the speaking test. How did you go? Before your test, try to speak English as much as possible. And on test day, be confident, speak naturally, and present your best language. Up next is Jay, who's going to take you through writing task 2.
Cool. Okay, you've just done your speaking section of the test, thanks to Alex. Now we're going to look at writing task 2. This will apply to both general and academic. What the general will get is usually a bit of a simpler question prompt, okay? All right, so let's have a look at writing task 2. Imagine it's test day, you open up your booklet and this is what you see in front of you. It says you should spend about 40 minutes on this task, write about the following topic. And you see this scary question prompt. This one's pretty tough, okay? But this is an adaptation of a real question prompt that you might see. The first smartphone was released in 1992. By the year 2020, there may be as many as 2.5 billion smartphones in the world. The use of smartphones is decreasing our collective intelligence because we are reliant on the technology and not our own minds. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Then it also tells you to give reasons for your answer, include relevant examples from your knowledge experience, and write at least 250 words. Let's break down this question prompt just quickly. This is the context sentence, okay? This isn't asking you to do anything, it's just setting the scene, giving you some background information. Here you have a bit of a controversial statement, okay? This is saying smartphones is decreasing our intelligence. Then it asks you, here's the question part, to what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Okay, so we're looking here at an opinion question, but it's asking you not just whether you agree or disagree, but how much you agree or disagree. So you might have to use some adverbs in there like completely agree, completely disagree, etc. Okay? What I'm going to do is now show you a model essay. Then I'm going to give you some time to plan your own. I want you to write one. This is a great opportunity to do it. If you don't do it now and you wait until exam day, you can almost bet your bottom dollar that you're going to fail, okay? You need to practice IELTS, especially IELTS writing, especially IELTS writing task 2 before test day. This is the one that most people fail on. They'll get 8, 8, 8 for the other sections, but they'll get 6.5 for writing. There's a reason for that. I'm going to also show you some top tips as to how you can boost your score. But I should also say the best way to improve your writing is to take a one-on-one tutorial with an expert teacher, which you can do at e2language.com, okay? And you can get feedback on your written writing as well. Okay, so let's have a closer look at this. Let me give you some top tips. First of all, this is my essay. If you want, you can pause this and read it yourself. I'm about to read it, so you can skip it if you don't want to hear me read it. But this is my essay, and this would get about let's say a high score, IELTS 8.5 or IELTS 9. Smartphone technology has been around for approximately 25 years. Within a few years, more than a third of all people will own and operate one of these devices. Despite the convenience these phones offer, there is concern that they are negatively impacting our intellects. In this essay, I will argue that this belief is unfounded and that the technology is actually making us much smarter. Memory is the basis of all types of intelligence, from reasoning to spatial awareness. While some people believe that we are deferring our memories to smartphones, this is not the case. On the contrary, they are actually increasing our memory capacities. There is no evidence to suggest, for example, that we are remembering less than we used to. It seems to me that by having information at our fingertips, our memories are being honed. Mathematics is another area of concern for smartphone skeptics. The truth is that we have been using calculators long before the invention of the smartphone, and true mathematical ability does not lie in simple calculations, but in the procedural memory associated with more complex mathematics. Thus, the fact that we cannot do long division in our minds has nothing to do with smartphones. Few people have ever been able to do this. If anything, these handheld technologies have increased our abilities to complete complex mathematical equations. Although the argument that smartphones are decreasing our collective intelligence seems plausible, under closer scrutiny, it's quite clear that the premises are false. In light of the above arguments, it is apparent that these ubiquitous technologies are making us more intelligent. There is a range of different things I did in that essay to boost my score. It's not just a matter of writing a good essay. There's certain things that you need to be aware of, and you definitely need to do them on test day. So let's have a look at some top tips here. Tip number 1 is you need to write on topic. Everything I've written about in this essay is based on this prompt. What most people fail to do, or what they do under pressure, especially on test day, is they begin to write off topic. You might have some great ideas about why smartphones are developed and your favorite app or something like that. You write a brilliant essay about that and your score will go down. You need to continually look back at the prompt to make sure everything you are writing is on topic. And what you'll notice is that that prompt has several parts. So you need to make sure you cover each of the parts equally. Okay, tip number 2, well, this is to do with essay structure and paragraph structure. If you're not familiar with the overall IELTS essay structure or the 2 different paragraph structures you need to know, you need to check out e2language.com. You need to make sure that you learn them, because once you learn the overall structure for the introduction and the conclusion, and the 2 different body paragraph structures for the single idea and the double idea, that's all you need, okay? Then any question prompt you get, you can apply that structure and write a really well-structured, coherent, and cohesive essay. So do check out those videos on YouTube or go to the platform and sign up. Tip number 3, you need to use varied and precise vocabulary. So you'll notice that the word smartphone pops up quite a bit. Just have a look at what I've done here. I've said, for example, smartphone technology, these devices, these phones, the technology, smartphones, they, information at our fingertips, smartphone, handheld technologies, smartphones, these ubiquitous technologies. I have created a variety of ways to say the same thing. You need to be very careful not to repeat words over and over again. I mean, I've used this one, well, that doesn't count because that's technology, 3 times. That's fine. That's totally fine. But I've also thought of a variety of different synonyms for that word. So what you're going to find in your essay, you'll have keywords and you'll want to repeat them and repeat them. Try not to. Think of some synonyms, write them in different ways. Use pronouns like it or they or these. That's important. Also, don't use fancy, crazy words that you don't know the meaning of. Only use a word if you are 100% confident that you understand the meaning and the meaning is clear, right? Don't just add in big fancy words. The IELTS examiners know that you don't know what it means, right? Unless you know what it means, and then you can vary your vocabulary and insert some interesting words, okay? All right, that's vocabulary. Next one is to do with grammar. Tip number 4, use varied and accurate sentences. Most people, when they think about grammar, just think about accuracy, right? As long as I get all of the grammar accurate in my essay, my grammar score is going to be high. This is wrong. Well, it's half of it. You do need to make it accurate, but you also need to make it varied, okay? You need to have a range of grammar in there as well. So the way that you do this is you write different sentence types. You might write some short, simple sentences, some compound sentences, some complex sentences, some compound complex sentences, some conditional, you might even write a question in there, use some modal verbs, use an if sentence, etc. You need to show a variety of sentence types. But there's a particular sentence type that you need to write, because unless you write this sentence type, you will only get 4 for grammar. It's one of these ones that starts with a subordinating conjunction like despite or although or while. Despite the convenience these phones offer, there's your clause, your dependent clause, there is concern that they are negatively impacting our intellects. IELTS examiners love these sentence types. While some people believe that we are deferring our memories to smartphones, there's your dependent clause. This is not the case. Aha, Mr. IELTS examiner loves that one. Anyway, you can see the different sentence types that I've used, and I've used a range of those subordinating conjunctions in there as well. Okay, now that we've gone through the tips, I'm going to give you 1 minute to plan your essay, and you should do this on test day. Don't just start writing. Spend 60 seconds thinking about what you will write. You need to ask yourself 3 questions, okay, before you start writing. For opinions, for example, or anything, any essay type. First of all, do you agree or disagree with this statement? Do you think it's decreasing our intelligence or not? Okay, so first of all, decide. Make a clear decision. Don't sit on the fence. Don't think, oh, I kind of agree, kind of disagree. No, choose one and stick with it. It makes it easier, okay? So let's say you disagree, like I did. Then you need to think of a reason why, and that becomes your paragraph 1. And you need to think of another reason why, and that becomes your paragraph 2. Okay? And just before I get you to plan, what I don't want you to do is just write heaps of different ideas. What you need to do with your paragraphs is think of that one key central idea as to why smartphones are not decreasing our intelligence, or why they are decreasing our intelligence. Find that central idea and expand upon that central idea. Don't just write heaps of different ideas into the one paragraph and make this big jigsaw puzzle of a thing. No. That's not what you do. Use the E2 language structure, paragraph structure, expand upon the single idea. All right, you have 60 seconds to plan your essay. Oopsie. Okay, hopefully you have some good ideas about what you're going to write. Hopefully you've decided whether you agree or disagree, and and you've got a couple of good ideas for your paragraphs. One idea for each paragraph. All right, let's do it. Let's write this thing. So I'm going to break this into two 20-minute halves. I'll pop my head up at 20 minutes and ask you how you're going and make sure you're writing on topic. And then I'll give you the other 20 minutes to finish your essay. And your time starts now. Okay, so you should have written by now your introduction and possibly all of your paragraph 1. And if you're typing this because you're taking the computer-based IELTS test, then possibly even your paragraph 2. You get a big advantage in the computer-based IELTS if you're doing writing or when you're doing writing because of the ability to type. You can type so much quicker than you can handwrite, which means that you have more time to think about what you're writing, more time to edit what you're writing, and you'll probably get a better score like I did. Cool. All right, so we're halfway through. You need to keep an eye on the time while you're doing your IELTS writing exam. You don't want to spend, certainly in writing task 1, you don't want to spend more than 20 minutes because it's worth a third of your marks. Writing task 2 is worth 2/3, so certainly spend 40 minutes. But yeah, watch the time. Make sure you don't get caught short. All right, this is also a tricky question prompt. So as I said at the beginning, you need to make sure you're looking back at the question prompt every couple of minutes to make sure that you're writing on topic. You must stay on topic. Okay, you have 20 more minutes now to finish this. Good luck. How did you go writing that essay? That question prompt was really, really tricky. You definitely needed to plan. You definitely needed to reread that question prompt as you were writing, looking up, making sure you're staying on topic the entire time, making sure everything you wrote was directed towards that question prompt. Cool, guys, well done. That's the end of the mini mock test. If you feel like you need any help with your IELTS, or perhaps you've taken this test a couple of times and failed already, you might want to check out e2language.com. It's 100% online test preparation. We have a platform with overview lessons, methods lessons, practice questions, mock tests, grammar lessons, etc. We run daily live group classes for academic and general. We have one-on-one tutorials where you can focus on your writing or speaking or reading. And we also do speaking and writing feedback as well. So maybe you would submit that essay through, the teacher would write back to you, tell you what you're doing right, more importantly, tell you what you're doing wrong. Cool. So yeah, if you need any help, check out e2language.com. Anyway, that's our first mini mock test. I hope it was helpful. I'll see you soon.